we've said happy anniversary to the lighthouse, 140 years old. We've had happy 105th anniversary to the little school and church at the corner of Tarpon Bay and Island Inn Roads. And now centennial anniversary wishes go to Shore Haven and Morning Glories. But there's more. Before the evening is over, we have 2 more island anniversaries to highlight. The incorporation of our city was nothing short of a municipal miracle. Many of us know the story, but we have some new folks here tonight. So here's the quick story. The year is 1974. The causeway has been open for over 10 years now. Sanibel's population is growing, exploding actually, and things are changing rapidly. Residents are alarmed by Lee County's plans to build high-rises on the beaches with housing for over 90,000 people. There were also plans for a 4-lane highway down the middle of the island. Florida developers and Lee County officials were absolutely exuberant, but Sanibel had been designated as a sanctuary island, and our natural sanctuary was being threatened by the county's plans for development. Sanibel residents mobilized. A group called Sanibel Tomorrow formed to work actively for Sanibel's incorporation. Led by a powerhouse woman, Z. Butler, the group succeeded. On November 5th, 1974, 84% of Sanibel's electorate went to the polls, and 63.6% of them voted for Sanibel to incorporate. Then, on December 3rd, 1974, Porter Goss, Vernon McKenzie, Z. Butler, Charles LaBeouf, and Francis Bailey were elected to the first Sanibel City Council. Goss was elected as mayor for the new city. Home rule saved Sanibel. The new city council immediately imposed a moratorium on new construction and began the process of creating a comprehensive plan. In 1976, the city adopted the Sanibel Plan, a visionary land use and development code to fit the environmental requirements of this unique barrier island. The Sanibel Plan was created by a dream team of internationally recognized urban planners, environmentalists, architects, and lawyers. Following the principles of the plan, Sanibel went on to enact restrictions that prohibited or severely restricted development in ecologically vulnerable areas, more than 2/3 of the island, and limited structures to 4 stories in height. This was not the end of the story, however. Incorporation for home rule and adoption of the Sanibel Plan required colossal feats of governance. Things did not go smoothly in those early days. Everyone on Sanibel owes a deep, deep debt of gratitude to our next speaker. He's here to give us some insight into how the people of Sanibel persevered through this tumultuous time and is a brilliant leader. This is Sanibel's first mayor, Porter Goss.
Andrea, thank you. It would be rude of me to correct such a nice introduction, but I've got to tell you, it was a community effort. I just happened to be the one that said, okay, I've got some time. And they said, okay, you're on. But I'm serious. It was a community effort. And what you saw from Ty and Leslie is what the real Sanibel was about. That was the community. The story about the Gavins, we used to pick Isabel up and take her to church when we all went to church together. I played softball with the Naves and Oscar, Big O. I could hit the ball out of the county from here. Just an amazing community of wonderful people, a special place, not just what nature had given us and was endowed and demanded the stewardship, but a community of people who looked out for each other, cared for each other, grew up together, and basically avoided the kinds of conflicts we read about and hear about every minute, it seems, in the days that we're living today. It was a great place and it was worth saving. Andrea, you pointed out very well a thumbnail sketch. The threat was perceived that three things had happened that were going to change Sanibel. We didn't know change it to what, but we had a pretty good idea that change was upon us, and nobody had really sat down and said, what do we want to look like in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years? Nobody thought 50 years. Certainly I did not think 50 years. And I certainly did not think I would be standing here talking about Sanibel 50 years after incorporation. But the three things that really came together, maybe four, was the bridge. First of all, the bridge changed Sanibel from an island to a peninsula, because now we are connected to the mainland. The second thing is all those pesky mosquitoes still were here, but there was getting to be a way to control them, and the Lee County Mosquito Control District, I think, led the world in killing mosquitoes at that point. Certainly they got a lot of prize for it. Under T. Wayne Miller, I'll never forget him, flying his DC-3s beneath the trees but above your roof, barely. And those things really matter. But then air conditioning got to be usable and relatively affordable. So suddenly we had air conditioning to control the very hot days, and we had a way to keep not the no-see-ums, but the mosquitoes at bay. And we definitely had another factor, and that is the discovery of Sanibel. It wasn't just the beaches and shelling anymore. Suddenly it was a tourist destination. And I distinctly remember sitting in the Chamber of Commerce, I don't know, 1970 sometime, and the debate on the table among the chamber members, shall we or shall we not advertise Sanibel in the New York newspapers? We're not sure we want to do that. Maybe we're just fine the way we are. So we don't need to advertise because people know we'll come, and they do. And you think of the shelling, the people who came here. I remember looking up at one council meeting, and in walked the President of the United States' mother. Really? Mrs. Carter, Lillian Carter. Why are you here, Mrs. Carter? What can we do for you? I came for the shelling, of course. End of discussion. Wonderful stories like that. So the real Sanibel, the essence of Sanibel, was perceived to be under threat. And it was a decision to do something, lots of meetings, very transparent, endless meetings, community comes, everybody gets to share in this very historic building, talk, discuss, vote, should we do this, should we do that? It turned out there were really only a couple of options. If we wanted to really control our own destiny, it looked like home rule. In order to get home rule, you had to become a city. Not a popular word. Nobody wanted Sanibel to be a city. But that's all the legislature offered us in way of getting our own home rule. And so we said, okay, we tried that out on the citizens. We got knowledgeable about it. We hired people who knew about home rule, what it would take. And after a lot of discussion community-wide, it was decided that that was the best bet for us to get incorporation. So we would have the one tool that the state had given us, or could give us, and that was comprehensive land use planning. Now, I could say for an absolute fact that of the 5 people, all of whom you just saw on the screen, there was not one who understood all the ins and outs of a comprehensive land use plan. I mean, you're talking about 5 amateurs here who love the island, want to do the right thing. So we hired professionals, and as Andrew said, we got the best in the business. We were very lucky. We started out saying, we don't know what we're doing, but we know people who do, and we will get them here, and they will help us. And they came up with a plan which I would dare say, if they came back today and said, we think you did well 50 years later, because I honestly believe it's a miracle that the plan has done as well as it has. It sure isn't perfect. It causes a lot of frustration. It's been amended from time to time, but I would remind you that the United States Constitution has a Bill of Rights. So you don't always get it exactly right the first time. You sometimes have to come back with an amendment or two. And we did, and we had a way of doing that in a wide, open, transparent, everybody's welcome community. And I can tell you, I wore out several pairs of pants sitting in this room in a chair, listening to virtually every idea that all 880 people who had an idea to give us, gave us. And I think that the other councilman would say the same. Charles LaBeouf, I'm sorry, isn't here because he could add color to a lot of these meetings. He remembers things and tells stories much better than I do. But it's great that we had a wonderful council that was basically had only one thing in mind, and that was how do we do what the people of Sanibel asked us to do, which is to keep it a wonderful, special, unique community where everybody's welcome. We had one big problem, and it almost sunk the ship because it's a legitimate problem. We had a lot of people who didn't want us to incorporate or didn't want home rule in any form or local control in any way because they had a different idea of the future of Sanibel and the people who lived here. We'll call these people offshore people, and they had maybe investments here. Some might have called them exploiters in some cases, not certainly in every case, because there was a lot of legitimate investment. Private property rights are sacred here, absolutely. And we had to balance those private property rights against the public well-being of keeping this magnificent place that has truly a carrying capacity in nature, to keep the nature to be able to continue to give us its blessings without screwing it up by putting too much development of the wrong type in the place. So that was the challenge, and that's where we created some enemies, and we ran into some real absurdities trying to stop us. Going to Tallahassee time and time again and trying to talk to legislators in Tallahassee, you may or may not know, I don't know if anybody here has actually ever been to Tallahassee. It's a very hard place to find on a map and a harder place to get to. And it took a lot of effort to get back and forth to Tallahassee. We went regularly, and every time we went there, we had to work to get our bill back on a track because it was always perilously close to being thrown in a wastebasket or put on a corner or disappear or some bad thing was about to happen because there were forces at play in Tallahassee that did not want Sanibel to incorporate. When we actually got the bill through, after objections like, we can't possibly have a community like Sanibel be a city because there aren't any people there who know how to run a city, or it's way too small to have home rule. Interesting point. When we measured the city of Sanibel against the state metrics after we incorporated, Sanibel, it turned out, of the 404 cities in the state of Florida in 1974, Sanibel was the 202nd largest, right directly in the middle. So that argument got put aside, and the question about whether we could take care of our own fortunes here was quickly put aside because we hired professionals, and we did it all openly. There was just no way to attack, really, that was legitimate, and the courts agreed. We got sued 8 times, maybe, I don't remember, 9. I just know I spent a lot of time in court saying, yes, Your Honor, I will tell you the whole truth. And it just sort of went on and on. We got to the point where the banks said, we'd like to loan you the money so you can start the city up and run it and hire a police chief and a city manager and all these things and pay these professionals. Well, turns out the bank has examiners. And the examiner said, well, I don't know. There's no collateral. We don't think you can legitimately give a bank loan to the city of Sanibel. What have they got to offer you? Word got around the island. The local bank at the time said, okay, tell you what, we're going to put out a big IOU and we're going to back it with gifts from the city to the bank. Anybody would like to sign up to buy a bank bond to support the city, let us know. It was oversubscribed in 24 hours. Everybody was outraged. The community was together. And even those people who weren't sure about incorporation in the city and the direction we were going and our taking care of our own future, even those people were just outraged at some of the tricks and shenanigans and mischief that was thrown at us to really frustrate the will of the people. That just doesn't go well in Sanibel any more than it goes well in America. You just don't do that in a democracy. And it was, I think, an extraordinary expression in this country, and frankly, so did the media at large. The main networks came down here and ran story after story about what's little old Sanibel doing that we can learn from. And the answer is it's quite a study in the people expressing their will and making it happen in a free democratic society under the Constitution of the United States of America, where private property rights are honored and the public well-being is served. So it's a fabulous success story. It did not come easily. We had some bad moments. We had some bruising. I don't think I made any permanent enemies. I sure tried not to. And I think in the end, everybody was pretty darn happy about it. And I have heard many, many complaints over the years about the plan and how fussy it is and how it doesn't make sense to do this. There was a reason why we had to do everything. If you let this gentleman have a fast food restaurant, then you might have a franchise come in with a fast food restaurant. So you had to weigh everything and set up what are the principles we're going to do. So we made it clear. We're going to be the community of Sanibel. Come and see us. Love it the way it is. Don't come and change it to the way you want it to be. It's great. We got a lot of people here. Yes, we're going to have change. Yes, we're going to have improvements. Yes, we'll have TV. I even saw TV. I never knew you had TV. I know. We didn't get it up in Gulf Drive. We didn't. No. I had a great regret. I never got to the top of the lighthouse because I was told if you got to the top of the lighthouse, you could look from one end of Sanibel to the other. And I think that was true, maybe before you were born, because the trees hadn't grown up that much then. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, does that answer your question?
I think you did.
Am I done?
You're done. Thank you so much, Porter, and thank you for all you have done, honestly, throughout time and continue to do. But you took the lead with a lot of community support, so thank you.